is the OG of RuneScape, one of the creators of RuneScape, and he's now launching his own MMORPG, which will be coming in Q3 this year. That is this year. And we're going to be talking about here in this video about the tweets, the responses that Andrew Gower has given to some of the questions that the community has been having about the game and about the release and all the information surrounding that. So you want to stay tuned to this video so you're most informed about the game, so that you're able to know all the information that there is to know so far about this game, and that's what we're going to go through in this video. So the first question that states, which will be available here, is will I be able to chop down trees for 16 hours at a time? And Andrew Gower's response to that was, you can if you really want, but the game is designed to be a bit more varied than that. So there is going to be an element of leveling, grinding in the game, that you're going to be able to level up the professions. It's already noted that there's going to be multiple professions in the game, including woodcutting is one of them. And so I'm guessing that you are able to actually grind a skill if you want to. But it says that it wants to be more varied. And if we looked at the trailer before that you saw in my last video, what you would have seen is that there is different ways, it seems, to actually cut a tree. There's like duo ways. One of the images shows that there's two people on each side of the tree with sort of a saw going back and forth. So maybe there is duo skilling involved as part of cutting the tree. But also, in addition to that, it could be that you could do it on your own as well. So it seems like there's going to be multiple different ways to actually train the skill. But again, they're going to keep in mind that it's not going to be too grindy. Obviously, RuneScape, old school RuneScape, is a very, very grindy game. So I think it wants to not necessarily say that it can't be part of the game, because that is like progress, right? You kind of progress your account and you have an affinity for your character. So that is important. So as you build up your character, you build progress on your character. Obviously, you then become attached to the character that you're building. So I think there is going to be an element of leveling in that sense. But it seems that the game, it's going to be varied in the sense that it keeps it fresh, it keeps it new, and you don't have to like chop the same tree over and over again for 16 hours, but there's going to be like different ways that you're able to do that. That's where I kind of gather from this this tweet here. Let's move on to the next one. Another tweet here is, will it be a MMORPG or just co-op solo? So the response from this by Andrew Gower is, it's an MMORPG, so that's confirmed that you're going to be seeing other people in the world. It's going to be an open, living, breathing space. You're going to be able to interact with other players, maybe trade with them, etc., and actually do activities. But he does state that it doesn't rely on other players to be fun. I have been alpha testing it on my own, and it's still very enjoyable. So for all those Iron Men that don't like to, maybe interact with other players as much, they like to play the game more solo based, then there's going to be the opportunity to actually not say that there's going to be an Iron Man mode or anything like that. It's its own game, right? It's not going to be exactly like RuneScape. So, but it is able to actually play the game on your own. You don't have to actually make sure that you're relying on other players, which is good, because of course not everybody's going to be online at the same time. Like if you want your friends to play this game as well, they might not be online when you are. So there needs to be activities that are solo based, so that you're able to actually play the game in the way that you want to play the game and not have any restrictions. And I think this is where it's going. There's not going to be massive amounts of restrictions on this game. You're going to have the ability to do what you want when you want, and I think that's important. And having that solo play is just part of not being restricted, of relying on other people. But at the same time, it's good to have that variance, that if you do want to rely on other players and play with other players in terms of actually different activities, in terms of skills or bosses, then at least you've got that option there as well. So here is another very, very important tweet, actually responding about the animations and whether it is movement or grid based, or is it grid aesthetic choices. Now Andrew Gower responded to that by saying the movement in the game Brighter Shores is grid based, but the timing of the movement and everything else is not tick based, so it's very responsive. So when you do actually play old school RuneScape, what you'll see is, of course, that the game is run on like a tick based system, and that's why you get like these 3 tick manipulation methods. Like, for example, when you do barbarian fishing in old school RuneScape, you're able to like manipulate the ticks because of the slight delay, whereas this game apparently is going to be incredibly responsive, and so that it's not going to be tick based. So that's very interesting, because that might not mean that there's going to be able to use doing like 3 tick methods in this game. You're gonna have to find new metas into the game in training skills and the best possible ways to actually train them, and I'll be covering that on this channel when the game releases, so be sure to subscribe. But that's interesting. I like the fact that it's going to be more responsive, because that might have implications when it comes to bossing or fighting monsters. That's going to have a implication towards that, and the game being more responsive probably a good thing. Okay, even if you can't do the manipulation of the ticks, at least it's going to be more responsive, and I don't see a bad thing to that. Now, this is a really important tweet too. Somebody asked, is there or will there be a closed alpha or beta? How do you sign up? I played RuneScape in 2001. Now, Andrew Gower's response to this was, there will be a closed beta. I will post more about it on X/Twitter closer to the time. So that is confirmed now. We will be able to get a closed beta of the game before the game's release. Now, the game as it stands is set to release this year in Q3. Okay, so this game has come out of nowhere, Brighter Shores, and now they're saying that it's going to be released soon. What's important to note that is Andrew Gower has actually been working on this for 10 years. So, including a brand new engine that goes with the game, much like with RuneScape, launched with Jagex, launcher, and had their own engine, in the sense that they had their own like Java and an engine to do with the old school RuneScape. That launched with its own engine. This game is also going to be launched with its own engine, so it's kind of like history repeating itself in a way. But of course, we want to know what the differences are from this game to old school RuneScape. What is its unique vibe? I did go into that in my past video, so you can check that out. But it does look like there is going to be a closed beta. Now, when is that going to be? So if the game's coming out in Q3, we can expect that beta to be coming out in a number of months, literally a number of months. It'll fly by that time, and the next thing you know, the closed beta will be available. And so we don't have an exact date on that, but it says actually later on that it'll be closer to the time. So what that means is that probably after the closed beta, the game is going to be released quite soon after. So unlike maybe some other games where they let you in on a closed beta and alpha and all of this, and then it takes another 5 trillion years for the game to actually come out, with this game, because it's already been worked on for 10 years and there is a closed beta, the game is going to actually come out soon after that closed beta, it seems, as from what I can attest to from these tweets here. Now, this is a big one for a lot of players, bots. Now, we all know that bots have the ability on MMORPGs to completely ruin the economy of raw materials, of resources that are commonly gathered, which is really annoying for like new players who want to earn money in the game and actually, progress in the game by leveling up certain gathering skills and then selling those resources. But if those resources tank to just lows in terms of how much money it's worth because of bots, then that kind of deflects from the purpose of training those skills. So let's have a look at this. Will there be implementations to prevent the bot community from controlling the economy, character development? Looking forward to playing Brighter Shores. Now, Andrew Gower's response to this was, yes, this is something I have considered at length. I have tried to design the game from the ground up, such as that bots shouldn't ruin the economy or the game. Now, this is crucial. The fact that Andrew Gower is actually thinking about this at length. he wants to introduce systems that prevent botting or stop botting from happening. Now, I could see that in the actual Steam page that there is player-to-player trading within this game. So that means that there could be potential for real-world trades, which is interesting. But at the same time, player-to-player trading, it adds that nostalgia. I hope they don't have like a grand exchange. Maybe I'll do a video on this, on what I want to see for player-to-player trading in the future. But I don't want to see a grand exchange type vibe or a auction house. I want it to be a literal player-to-player trading where you're in like, I don't know, the main town of Brighter Shores, and you've got to negotiate with other people, and people can either tell you to go away and, you know, shout expletives at you for offering a very low price for an item. I want that interaction, you know. I want the back and forth negotiations. I think it just adds that nostalgic feel. It's so cool. So I hope Brighter Shores has that kind of trading system. But when it comes to botting, right? So we need to make sure that we minimize bots in the game. So it's good that the creator of this game is thinking about how they're going to do that. And it's been considered at length, and to actually include with that the fact that it's been developed for 10 years. So he's probably been thinking about this for a very long time about how he can deal with bots here. So hopefully that is something that they're able to do. Another question is it going to be an ever-evolving game too, with new updates, etc.? Andrew Gower responded with, simply, yes, that's the plan. So that means that this game is going to be, hopefully, a long-term game. And as long as people support it, it's going to be a long-term game whereby there's going to be updates over a number of weeks, months, and years, where the game's going to gradually improve and you're going to see the game grow as you play the game. I mean, that is one thing that I liked about old school RuneScape back in the day, like way back in the day, just after RS Classic and around that time, where you would get literally updates all the time and you just saw the game grow. And of course, it went into a completely different direction with the evolution of combat and everything like that. But, you know, the idea that the game can grow and you have all these updates and you see this game just improve in real time, I kind of like that about a game. I don't necessarily want the game to be released and be absolutely perfect. Okay, I don't mind it having issues and problems and that they need to be updated and addressed. I think that's part and parcel of any game, really. But I think the best games are ones that are regularly updated and they don't forget about actually adding content to the game, particularly with MMORPGs. Okay, so that sounds interesting, and with it having its own engine, right? So if they've developed their own engine, what does this mean in terms of how often the game is going to be updated? With this new engine, does that make it easier to update the game much faster? Now, that could be a game changer, because if you imagine, if he's built this new engine and he's able to update the game on a regular basis, that is just going to be good for the game's community. It's going to retain players. It's going to give the players something new to do every week or every month. So that will be good to do. Some other comments here. So the same artistic fingerprints as your first child, Jagex. Andrew Gower responded to this by saying, completely different artists, but you've always liked grid-based games, point-and-click games, and a clean, uncluttered aesthetic. I was going for a sort of tabletop RPG vibe and a retro isometric game vibe. So this is a good combination because it kind of gives me like kind of Dungeons and Dragons vibes. I noticed in the trailer that you could only see what's in your immediate surroundings. Everything that's like out of your surroundings is kind of like misty, or there's like fog there. So there's that air of mystery there. Now, I think that would work if there is some kind of randomly generated type of content. So, I don't know, you enter into this mysterious map, but every time you enter into it, it's randomly generated. And that way, whenever you go into a new set of tiles, you don't know what you're going to run into. You could run into some rare resources. You could run into some new monsters. You could run into a boss. You could run into something that is going to completely murder you and you're going to lose all your stuff. That kind of intrigue of actually only having your immediate surroundings around you, and then as you move along, then you see more of your surroundings, and it's sort of a surprise each kind of set of tiles you go into. I kind of like that vibe. I really do. And I think it's something that sets itself apart from old school RuneScape because, of course, you can see your immediate surroundings. It's not really kind of blocked off in that sense. And you can also obviously scroll far out on the map and just see just so much content, right, in terms of what's coming. This is trying to basically have more of a focus on what is your immediate surrounding and the focus in on that and what the mystery is in terms of what you could find in the next set of tiles. I like that. Some people may not like that, but I think it sets itself apart. It gives itself a unique selling point from old school RuneScape because we need to see what's different and what's not the same about this and the previous game. So yes, it's going to be also point and click. So the idea that you're just going to be able to use your mouse and click on things and use skills. So it's going to be, I would say, a relaxed vibe to the game. You're going to be able to just chill out and maybe do some profession, some skilling. You do more intense content like exploring the world and then not knowing what you're going to go into. So I think that there's different elements there. So it's going to have a clean and cluttered aesthetic. I think that's important because maybe you don't agree with me here. Let me know if you don't. But for anybody who's aware of RuneScape 3, I absolutely do not like the interface on that game, personally. I think that there is just too much going on the screen. There's just things going on everywhere, right? And it just puts me off. That's just a personal opinion. I like things simplistic. So if they're going to have a simplistic aesthetic to the game, and we've already seen some of the interface from the game trailer that we've analysed in a previous video, and so we know that the aesthetic's going to be very simplified, which is really important, I think. And finally, there is a recap by this guy. Basically, I think he used to do the top 10 videos on old school RuneScape, from what I remember. I think he used to do those. But it kind of summarised it. So a few things that Andrew Gower has stated about his new MMORPG, Brighter Shores. So it's going to be grid-based movement, not tick-based. So it's very responsive. There's going to be no MTX. There will be a free-to-play and pay-to-play. So that's known now. The fact that there is going to be what seems to be some kind of membership model to get access to more areas, but there isn't going to be an element where you can pay, £50 or whatever and get like the best weapons and armor and the best, XP rates and boosted XP and all that sort of stuff. Actually, hopefully, the game is what it seems to be is going to be free to play. So if you wanted to play the game and not spend any money whatsoever and just try it out, you're going to have the ability to do that. But there is going to be a pay to play option that when you progress with the game, you complete a lot of the content, you're going to be able to unlock more areas. Now, we don't know whether that's going to be a monthly subscription every 3 months, every 6 months, every 12 months. Hopefully we get more information about that. And that'd be good. But I would suggest that it'd probably just be best to do a monthly subscription. I mean, just charge a monthly subscription and undercut the competition. All the other games that are doing monthly subs for their MMORPGs, look at the landscape and just offer something really competitive and really fair. And I think the player base will thank you for that in saying that, look, here, you're only charging, I don't know, £5, £6, £7 a month, whatever. I'm happy to support the game, something like that, right? So it's also designed so bots can't ruin the economy. As we mentioned before, this is really important, especially if there's going to be player-to-player trading in the game. We don't want certain resources just crashing down low and basically making it very difficult for people to actually generate money in the game, become the richest in Brighter Shores. There will be a closed beta. Again, we don't know the exact date. We do know, of course, it's going to be before Q3 or, within Q3, but the early start of it, maybe, in terms of the third quarter of the year. there's going to be ever evolving updates. So that means that we're going to be seeing new content that we're going to be able to come back to. So it's going to be one of those games where it's going to be like hard to complete, although there will be a lot of geeks and nerds out there that will complete the game. But there is always going to be new content, new stuff to try, which is good to see. It's an ever-evolving MMORPG. And there's also going to be no clutter. So I think that's in relation to, again, the interface. The interface is going to be fresh. It's going to be uncluttered. It's going to be simplified. The game itself and the game design is going to be simplified and relaxed. And it's going for that kind of a vibe for the game, which sounds very interesting. Now, this has been Brighter Shores Central. If you have been interested in this channel and you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more content on Brighter Shores, if you're interested in this game at all, or want to see the latest updates, the latest news, when the beta's coming out, or any latest information about skills and professions, etc., then do subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell, because then you'll be notified when the new video comes out immediately, and it could be some important news, including release dates that you might want to start getting planning for. And if you're that into the game, you might want to like book time off work or whatever so that you can actually, no life the game for a week. Okay, so thank you for watching the video. Hit the like button and I'll see everybody later.